Welcome on all to a little something different. Today I'm going to talk about the rotation that's going to be happening eventually. So every so often we do get a rotation of what comes into the standard format and what gets put into the expanded. I think so far now everyone's kind of guessed that it goes up until Ultra Prism to Lost Thunder. That's kind of the sets that are going to get rotated out. So then after that we're going to have a format that's going to be from team up, so the tag team era onwards. So this video is just going to be about all the specific cards that we're going to get into expanded after the rotation happens. So there's going to be a few decks that's going to disappear after the rotation comes out, and we're just going to look at like some of the top tier cards that we've seen throughout the time of this rotation. So first off, Ditto Prism Star. First off, a couple of Prism Star cards are going because Ultra Prism released that kind of Prism card era. So Ditto Prism Star is the first one. By the way, I didn't sort these out. They kind of just sorted themselves out. So whatever comes up, it's not going to be alphabetical or anything like that. So it's just going to come as it goes. So Ditto Prism Star, that's such a shame. Ditto Prism Star is used for a lot of decks that use evolutions. Can evolve into any stage 1. Can be GX or normal. Can't go into stage 2 those with rare candy because that would be admittedly broken. So Ditto Prism Star was a nice tech. It's an amazing card for evolution decks. Still gets used now. But yeah, it's gonna go. It came in Lost Thunder and it's gonna go. That's so upsetting. So now that means we have to rely on a lot of just normal Pokemon, like the normal evolution lines, unless they bring out another form of Ditto, because I know they brought one out in Detective Pikachu. So maybe they might bring one out, who knows, but until then, that's all we got. Next up, we have Sceptile GX, the one from Ultra Prism. It did come out in Crimson Invasion, but since it got redone in Ultra Prism, it's back. It comes back. So Sceptile got a little extra longer life, but unfortunately he is going to go by the time rotation comes out. We still have the other Sceptile, the one that gets you to draw up until you have 5 cards in your hand. That one, in my opinion, is better. This Sceptile lets your basic Pokemon have no retreat cost, so this works well for tag team Pokemon. This works well for tanky GX Pokemon or tanky just basic Pokemon. It works really well. It does work it's pretty good. And for 3 colorless energy, Turbo Drive, 120, attach base energy from your discard to one of your bench, does a high amount of damage and energy retrieval. It's nice. And then 50 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon as a GX attack. We've seen that before. We've seen that before with Keldeo. We've seen that before with the old Lycanroc before it got rotated out. It's fine. Moves like that are fine. Doesn't bother me really. Not me personally, but it's alright. But yeah, Sceptile is going to go. That's another upsetting one. I did used to use Sceptile a lot. That's pretty upsetting. We have Trumbeak. Now, Trumbeak kind of fits in the whole thing of Lost March, because Lost March is going to just disappear. We have Whimsicott that's come out in Cosmic Eclipse, so that's going to stay. But that's it. That is really it. Trumbeak was used for Lost March because if you put it in the Lost Zone, you can put your opponent's top card. If the top card of your opponent's deck is a supporter, you put it in the Lost Zone, and it just builds up damage for Jumpluff and Whimsicott and Natu. Being in mind that the other Lost March, so Jumpluff is gonna go because that as well came out in Lost Thunder. Skiploom is going to come out, and then, yeah, I think that was it. Natu is going to come out. I think we put Natu on this list. But yeah, so Lost March is pretty much going to be non-playable unless you do it in expanded. But other than that, non-playable in my opinion. It's just going to be so bad now. We have Darkrai Prism Star. Now, Darkrai Prism Star wasn't used a lot when it first came out. Again, it came out in Ultra Prism. It wasn't used a lot. But after a while, when new cards came out, it started to get used a bit more. It got used more as a tech. You see it a lot now in Greninja Zoroark decks because it builds up dark energy for Greninja Zoroark to do extra damage. But before it didn't really do much. It just kind of sat there in your collection, not really doing much. But it's good now. It's actually got a bit of stuff to it now because you have things like Weavile to shuffle energy around to it. You have things like Greninja Zoroark, like I said, to get extra damage because of it. It's not bad. It's not bad. And does 120 for 4 dark energy and puts him to sleep, but you flip 2 coins instead of 1, which again is very good. It's a good stalling tactic, so it's nice. It is a nice mechanic, but Yeah, I just wish that more stuff came out for it beforehand, which was upsetting. But yeah, Darkrai Prism Star. So Greninja Zoroark's going to take a fat hit from that one, unfortunately. Next up, we have Yveltal GX. Now, Yveltal GX has been, again, one of the cards that's not really been used much, and it's just been starting to get used now with Obstagoon decks because of its GX attack. If your opponent's active Pokemon has exactly 4 damage counts on it, it's knocked out. Doesn't matter if it's a GX, a basic, or a V, it gets knocked out straight away. Like, that's it. So Obstagoon decks could easily get that. 1 Zigzagoon and 1 Obstagoon, that's it. You've got 4 damage counters. Yveltal comes in, does Doom Count, and you've got an easy KO. It's not bad. That's really not bad. So yeah, Yveltal's good now for attack. Not many people used it before Obstagoon came out, but yeah, Obstagoon's going to take a bit of a hit. Not too much where it matters, but it's going to be a bit of a hit. So yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame. We have Rayquaza. Now, Rayquaza was a big one. Rayquaza was a big one. When it first came out, it was used in tournaments and stuff. It did pretty well. It has an ability, if you put it from your hand to the bench, you discard top 3 cards of your deck and attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. And then 1 grass, 1 colorless, 1 lightning. Does 30 damage for each grass and lightning energy attached to all of your Pokemon in play. That's great. That is fantastic. And then, but yeah, it was great. People used it in tournaments when it first came out. It kind of died down because Fairy type started to get a little bit of a boost with God of War and Sylveon and things like that. And then it started to try and make a comeback with Rillaboom, because Rillaboom could bring in 2 grass energy every turn. And if you get like 2 Rillaboom, that's 4. So you could do very, very hefty numbers with that. You could do a lot of hefty numbers with that. But yeah, it's not so much used now, but again, it was a really, really good top tier card. It was great. Rayquaza was great, and that's gonna go as well. That's just upsetting. That's upsetting in my opinion. I like Rayquaza. I don't mind Rayquaza. Rayquaza was great. We have Turtonator. Now, Turtonator came in at Dragon Majesty, one of like the secret sets, if you want to put it that way. It wasn't used again at first, not a lot. Just because it was too clunky to get 3 fire energy on. But then when Welder came out, that was a different story. We started to use Turtonator a lot more. It became that 1 or 2 of in fire decks that could do like a big hefty amount of damage just for discarding fire energy. It was great. I love to use Turtonator in most of my fire decks. I used to use him a lot actually in fire decks. Not so much since Sword and Shield has come out, but I think before he goes away I might start using him a bit more. So yeah, Turtonator in my opinion is great. If you want a big hefty amount of damage in like 1 straight shot, Turtonator is definitely the one to pick in my opinion. We have Ultra Necrozma GX. Now this one is a massive blow because Ultra Necrozma to this day is still getting used a lot, and there's only more and more cards that are getting added to help Ultra Necrozma decks. It's just now he's getting rotated. It came out in Forbidden Light. This deck, Ultra Necrozma, was its own deck as well, and it rocked the format for a good while actually. I think until the next expansion came out. I think. Don't quote me on that one, but I think Ultra Necrozma was great in my opinion. It was such a good card. It still is a beastly card. There's a lot more to do for it. There's a lot more cards now that help it. There's a lot. But yeah, Ultra Necrozma was fantastic. It was amazing. We have Xerneas. Now, Xerneas again was that kind of one-off in fairy decks just for its GX attack. Move all damage counters from each of your Pokemon to your opponent's active. So it's pretty much like a healing attack sort of thing. Basically, it's just like a reset. It's a big reset for you. If you have a whole bunch of your bench Pokemon that have a bunch of damage counters on it, you bring up Xerneas, do Sanctuary GX, and you've just reset everyone. You know, your tag teams will be back to full health. Anyone important will be back to full health, like your draw supports, like things like Chinchino or Dedenne. It'd be great. It would be it's such a good one-off tech to put in if you do fairy decks. But then again, we're not really seeing fairy decks get used a lot now, since, you know, fairy decks aren't being included in Sword and Shield onwards until further notice, I guess. But yeah, again, came out in Forbidden Light. Forbidden Light had a few good GXs in my opinion. Had a few good ones. We have a lot of Ninetales GX. Now this one was used a lot. I think we've replaced it now with Inteleon, because Inteleon was just it's a bit more open to use. But when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, search set for 2 item cards, has to be item cards, and put them into your hand. So people would take Alolan Ninetales in to get rare candies for stage 2 decks, or just any little random card, like say things like, oh, I don't know, custom catches, just any little techie things that you could use to help yourself get a little bit of an advantage. But nowadays everyone's starting to use Drizzle and Inteleon, because Drizzle gets you one trainer card, so it doesn't have to be an item, you can get a supporter as well. And then Inteleon gets you 2 trainer cards, so an item and a supporter, 2 supporters or 2 items, or even tool cards or anything like that, anything that you want basically. So I think it's a bit more open using Inteleon now. Not many people are using Alolan Ninetales anymore, so yeah, it was good while it lasted, so that's gonna be a shame. We have Buzzwole. Now Buzzwole again was a good fighting tech. Many people used it back when, I think before GXs came out. What would normally happen is that you'd put your GX up in the active, do as much damage as you can, then your GX gets knocked out, they take 2 prizes. Buzzwole comes out and does Sledgehammer for 120, because if they have exactly 4 prizes remaining, they do 120 instead of 30 damage. And then that became such a beastly thing. Then you had things like Diancie to add on extra damage. Then you could do things like Martial Arts Dojo to add in extra damage. It was great. It was amazing. It was so good. Buzzwole was just, such a good teching Ultra Beast. It's amazing. We do like Buzzwole. Buzzwole was great. Not seeing him play so much now, just because fighting decks aren't really shown a lot anymore. Yes, fighting decks have kind of gone under recently, so yeah, it is a bit sad, but I think if fighting decks did come back, Buzzwole would definitely be there. We have Diancie Prism Star, as I just said. Diancie Prism Star, amazing for fighting decks, pretty much in every form of fighting deck, or even that uses fighting Pokemon. Makes your fighting Pokemon do 20 more damage. Literally that's the only thing it got used for. No one really used its attack. But Diancie, yeah, it's a good fighting tech. There's extra damage. We always love extra damage. And Diancie is going to be such a big blow for fighting decks, especially since we get a few good ones now in Rebel Clash. I know we get a good Colossal, which might bring fighting type Pokemon back. So we don't know. But such a shame, man. We like Diancie. Diancie was great. I love Diancie. We have Lucario, and to another extent, Garchomp. Now, these two were a theme deck, actually, in Ultra Prism, and they rocked it for a good while. I've never seen a theme deck rock the format. That is crazy. It's crazy. So, Lucario lets you get any card you want from your deck into your hand if you have a Garchomp in play. It doesn't have to be the active, can be on the bench as well. As long as you've got one, you can get it. And the Lucario stack. So you can have 3 Lucarios and just 1 Garchomp, and that's enough for you to get any 3 cards that you want out of the deck. So that's amazing. That was literally amazing. So what people would do, they would use things like Power Pad to get their Cynthias back, because Garchomp does more damage with Cynthia. They would also get Power Pad to bring Cynthia back. So ideally you'd have 2 Lucario on the bench, 1 for Power Pad to bring Cynthia back, and another one to get Cynthia again, and then you pop off Cynthia, do the damage. So yeah, that was pretty good. Also shout out to the other Garchomp. I think that one's getting rotated out as well, because there was a Dragon type one that came out in Ultra Prism, and then it got revamped as a fighting type one a few sets afterwards, and I think the fighting type one is also getting rotated out. So yeah, it is a bit of a shame, but it was a good deck while it lasted as well. Lucario GX, this one was not bad. I did like Lucario GX. It was nifty. Does 120 if it evolved from Riolu during this turn, does 30 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon, and then does 130 just normal, no repercussions, nothing like that. So that's kind of the combo you do. You do Aura Strike, then they hit you back, you do your GX attack, and then you just go and do Cyclone Kick for as long as you can until Lucario is obviously knocked out. It was alright, it wasn't too bad, can't complain. But yeah, Lucario, it was a nice little Pokemon to do. It can make its own deck, but it just does too little damage for it to be consistent. But if you add things in, it could work. Who knows? It might make a last minute effort at the last minute. Who knows? Victini Prism Star. Oh my gosh. Fire decks. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all these fire decks. Yeah, Victini's such a great card for fire decks. 2 fire energy, does 20 damage for each basic energy card in your discard, and you shuffle it all back in. Amazing, because fire decks have a gimmick of discarding a lot of energy. They have a mad gimmick for discarding a lot of energy, and Victini would just blitz them and do it all back. A nice little one-off attack, because you wouldn't really do it again. If you somehow manage to do it again, then fair play, discard as much as you can, because you're just going to get it back. But yeah, Victini was like that one-off Pokemon where you wanted to kind of knock out a lot, like a last-ditch effort Pokemon, and then also get your energy back just in case they've got a backup plan. So yeah, Victini was great. Oh dude, it's so upsetting to see Victini go. So upsetting. Again, came out in Dragon Majesty, but Victini, dude, I'm gonna miss you. It's gonna be so upsetting. Typhlosion. Now, Typhlosion is getting used, well, now recently with Sizzlepede, with the Sizzlepede Mealing decks. It lets you convert all your energy into fire energy until the end of your turn, which is great because Sizzlepede, for 1 fire energy, discards the top card of your opponent's deck depending on how much fire energy you have. So you fuse them two with Porygon Z, attach as much special energy as you can, so things like triple acceleration energy because it's an evolution Pokemon, recycle energy, draw energy, all things like that, just to get as much energy as you can. Typhlosion converts it into fire, and then you discard it as much as you want. It's a crazy play. It does get rid of a lot of cards very, very quickly, but it's not bad. It wasn't too bad. It has a decent attack, 4 fire energy, lost flame, 120, and puts 2 energy from your opponent's Pokemon into the lost zone, which is good because then they can't get it back because it won't go back to their hand, and it won't go to discard, and they can't get it back because you can't get things back from the lost zone. So yeah, it was good. Came out in Lost Thunder as well, so yeah, it was great. I didn't mind that actually. It was a pretty good card. It still is a decent card. It's just too weak for stage 2, but it's a good tech. It's a good tech for Sizzlepede. I think it's a perfect match for Sizzlepede in my opinion. Shaymin was good. I think a lot of people used it with Celebi and Venusaur as a wall mechanic, because you would take damage from Celebi Venusaur, then Shaymin would just heal it up, and then I think you'd have Life Force Prism Star on top of that, so you could pretty much reset Celebi Venusaur. But then obviously things came out after that, like Reshazard and Welder and things like that, and then Celebi Venusaur went off really, really quickly. They disappeared very quickly. So Shaymin's not been used as much, and nowadays we have things like Indeedee has high HP, can heal 20 damage from any Pokemon as long as it's in the active. So yeah, so Shaymin's kind of limited. It's 20, but it has to be to a grass Pokemon, less HP, and it's a bit meh. It's a bit meh in my opinion. Indeedee's better nowadays. Now that we've got Indeedee's just better. But yeah, back in the day when Shaymin was there, Shaymin was great. Shaymin was amazing. Shuckle, again, another war mechanic. Doesn't take any damage if your opponent's Pokemon has 2 or less energy. So that was good. Things like, say, I don't know, off the top of my head, Vileplume that could do 180. Would have to attach an extra energy which you could have used for someone else just to get a 1-hit KO. But by then you could do triple poison, puts on 3 damage counters on poison instead of 1 between turns. And then you could just do Wrap to add on an extra 40 damage and Paralyze to also stall again. So yeah, Shuckle was pretty good. It's a nice little techie card. It was alright. You see it in grass decks a tiny bit, but since it's colorless, you can pretty much throw it in anywhere. It's pretty good. You could add in things like the new Toxicroak that came out to add in extra damage counters on poison. You can do a lot of things actually now, and I think we're getting a new Garbodor as well. The new Toxicity V Max would be good. So yeah, it'd be nice. It would be very nice. You get stadium cards like Dust Island now, where if they switch with a trainer card, they still get poison. So yeah, it's not too bad. It's alright. We don't mind Shuckle. It's alright. There's a few little gimmicks for Shuckle, but I'm not really seeing him play much recently. Sceptile GX was a very good deck for a while. It wasn't for long to be honest. It does decent amount of damage, shuffles energy around, not expensive. Heals every Pokemon that has grass energy attached to it for a GX attack. Discards special energy, which is good more than before because a lot of people like to use special energy now. Things like Aurora Energy, Triple Acceleration. There's a few good things. Well, I say Triple Acceleration, but then again, you discard Triple Acceleration by the time your turn comes. So let's say Rainbow Energy instead, then, just for the sake of it. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was alright. But then obviously it fell off really quickly. Actually, not many people use Sceptile after like a couple weeks. So it was a good while it lasted as well. Mareep. Now Mareep again came out in Lost Thunder. You saw Mareep recently in Breloom decks, I think from Unified Minds, I think. Breloom would do extra damage if your opponent's active was asleep. That was great because then you could just do Mareep, put them to sleep, retreat, and hit with Breloom. That would be a normal like combination if you didn't have things like a Mongoose or anything like that. So yeah, Mareep was good, and then you have things like Sunburn Forest to keep them asleep for longer. So yeah, it was pretty good. We don't mind Mareep. Mareep was okay. Also, if you're thinking about its Ampharos GX, it came out in Team Up, I believe. I think it came out in Team Up. Yes, it came out in Team Up. So Ampharos GX stays. It's just the better Mareep that does the ability goes away, which is sad because we did like Mareep, but what can you do? We like Mareep. Zeraora GX. Lightning Dex, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Everyone use Zeraora. Everyone who used the Lightning deck use Zeraora. Of course, there's a few decks where you don't have to, but Zeraora was so nice. You could get free retreat on any Pokemon that has Lightning Energy attached to it. So you could get an easy hit with things like Zapdos. You get easy hit with things like Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Things like Pikarom, if they're in trouble, you could get them out. It was just great. Zeraora was even its own deck for a little bit. I think until Team Up came out, then Zeraora just became the biggest Lightning tech in the history of Lightning techs. But yeah, Zeraora was fantastic. It was great. Yeah, Lightning decks, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. This is going to be such a big thing. You have Tapu Koko that does free retreat, but then again, you'd have to get Tapu Koko out in the act. Say if you're running things like Raichu and a load of Raichu, you'd have to have things like, say, Tapu Koko to get free retreat. You have to stock up on switches or Titanializers or Mallow and Lanas. There's a few things. Or you'd have to get a 2-star or 2 retreat cost Pokemon to do Air Balloon with, or even a skateboard. It's just Zeraora makes all of that a bit easier because all you have to do is slap on an energy retreat and you're done. That's it. But it is a bit sad. It's a bit sad. Sorry, Zeraora. You was a really good card. We have Sizzle GX. Now, Sizzle GX, again, was a very good card. Oh gosh. It was good for a while. Then people tried using it with Island Challenger Amulet because its ability let it give it extra damage. Would do 200 damage for a GX attack if the opponent's active Pokemon was an evolution. It's good now because then you've got VMAX Pokemon. You could hit a nice little 200. Yeah, hit a nice little cheeky 200, which would be nice. But yeah, then things like Steel Wing take 30 less damage. It's alright. And then, but if you did Island Challenger Amulet, that gives you prone to things like fire types. So then you'd be hit for weakness. Or you could sacrifice the amulet, put on Metal Frying Pan. It's just, what do you really? It's just what do you really prefer? If you've got a tanky deck that you're facing, then rather do Metal Frying Pan. If you know you can get hits very easily, then I would just say Island Challenger Amulet. But yeah, Sizzle, Celestial Storm. It was the pack that it came out in. But yeah, it's a shame that it goes. Sizzle was nice. It was a decent card. I'm not gonna lie. We have Magnezone and the other Magnezone, both Magnezone pretty much. One came out in Ultra Prism, the Steel type one, and Forbidden Light was the one that the Lightning type one came out. They both did the same thing, just for their respective types. Lets you put on as much Steel or Lightning energy as from your hand to any of your Pokemon that you want. It's nice. It was a nice thing. Obviously, there's new ways to get around it now. I think the Steel type Magnezone is better because there's not a lot of ways now for Steel types to go around. You have Metal Saucer, but that's only for bench Steel types because Magnezone lets you do it to anyone, the active and the bench. You've got cards that can get energy like Zacian that lets you draw and get energy if any of them are energy, or things like Lucario Melmetal that attacks and grabs 1 energy from the deck. You've got a few things, but not so much. Then obviously for the Lightning Magnezone, you have things like Tapu Koko now that gets you it from the bench, that gets you it from the discard pile. You've got things like Pikarom that does a massive amount of damage and gets you 3 from the deck, but it puts it onto 1 Pokemon only. Yeah, you've got a few. It can be nice. It's just stage 2's tricky. For these type of decks, it's tricky. But if you can, then by all means do. But yeah, Magnezone, it's a shame, but both of you are gonna go. But you was great while you lasted. Solgaleo from Ultra Prism. Now, it did come out in Sun and Moon, but the Golden card came out in Ultra Prism, so it got revamped again. It wasn't bad. It basically has a nice ability that lets you have a switch whenever you want. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. Then does 230, a hefty amount of damage, but discards all energy from it. And for its GX stat, lets you find 5 energy cards from your deck and attach them to anyone in any way that you like. So it can be any energy, special energy included. So that's great. That is really, really good. But yeah, it tried to get used a lot. Not many people managed to make it work. I suppose you have better things now to make it work. You've got things like ADP if you really want to. You've got things like Metal Saucer because it is a steel type. So yeah, so you got things for it now, which is better than most. But yeah, you can try and do a last minute effort for Solgaleo. It's nice. We have Dawnwing's Necrozma. That again pretty much puts itself in the active. No switch needed. No retreat needed. It's fine. You could take this for decks like Zapdos or Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Again, came out in Ultra Prism, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, it did a decent GX attack, 180, and prevents damage to it. But then again, gusting effect cards pretty much make that useless. Things like Fion or Custom Catcher, Great Catcher, Pokemon Catcher, etc. Yeah, Dawnwings is meh. You saw it teched out in a few decks, but not so much as of late. Giratina from Lost Thunder. This one again is a deck that gets used a lot. Very good damage, very good ability. Lets you put 1 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon if it's in the discard pile, and you put it on the bench. So you would tech this in with things like Malamar. So Malamar would give it the energy, you bring it back out, hit it again. Once it's knocked out, bring it back into the bench, and it's you kind of just make a big nice like circle with this, just damaging constantly. Sure, you put on 4 damage counters on your opponent's on one of your own Pokemon, but it's not really stopped Giratina. It's really not. Things like Spell Tag would also chip on extra damage, so yeah, it's great. It's really, really good. Natu again from Lost March, like I said with Trumbeak. Just yeah, Lost March is pretty much going. But yeah, Natu is also one of the cards that does a hefty amount of damage. Double energy, 20 damage for each Pokemon in your Lost Zone, except for Prism Stars, because that would be busted. So yeah, it's alright. Malamar from Forbidden Light. Gosh, that's gonna be such a fat thing to take. Malamar is just great. I think before a certain point in Sword and Shield, Malamar was the most used card in general, I think, and that's crazy. That is insane. So Malamar has an awesome ability that lets you attach a Psychic Energy card to one of your bench Pokemon, and it does stack. So multiple Malamar means multiple energy back. You would have at first you would have this with Ultra Necrozma, because obviously that was the thing that came out with it. Then it evolved into getting teched out into things like normal Necrozma from, I believe, Team Up. Giratina, like I previously said, and then it just became a huge thing in almost every deck that tries to include Psychic Energy. Things like Mewtwo Toolbox, you could use it with. Yeah, there's just a lot. There's a lot I could sit here and talk about and say you could use Malamar with, but there's a lot. There is a huge amount. You have Nagging Adel, again from Lost Thunder. Again, everyone would take this in with things like Quagsire. You would take this in with Blacephalon. Also, shout out to Blacephalon. I didn't manage to put them up here, but Blacephalon will also be going from the rotation, which is sad because Nagging Adel Blacephalon was a top tier deck, I think, until Pikarom came out. Was the best deck until Pikarom came out, I think. Awesome ability, lets you put a basic energy from discard onto it. Again, stacks on multiple Nagging Adels mean multiple energy. You would take this in with, again, like I said, Blacephalon, things like Greninja Zoroark to get extra energy, to get extra damage. There's just a few things. There's a lot. There's a lot you tag this in with. You'd tag team it with Quagsire to then for water decks, because Nagging Adel would bring it onto the bench. Quagsire would then bring it up to the active. There's just a few. There's a bit you can do with Nagging Adel. There was. Such a shame. It's such a shame that he's going. So things that use a lot of energy, you're gonna have to find other ways to get the energy around, unfortunately. But Nagging Adel, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Nagging Adel GX, the bad one, quote unquote, didn't do much. You'd use it a lot for a toolbox, but then a new Nagging Adel came out. Same HP, but just a better attack and a better ability. Discard an Ultra Beast, draw 3 cards, and does 170 to anyone, I think, on the bench, for 4 energy, and you discard, I think, 2, I think. But yeah, this one wasn't too bad. People tried to take this in a lot. You'd have things like Beast Energy. You've had things like Beast Rings to get extra energy on. You just take this in just to kind of get a nice little one-off. Because it'll be 120 max if you have all Ultra Beasts, and then 150 if you have Beast Energy onto it. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. Nagging Adel was alright. Volcanium Prism Star from Forbidden Light lets you switch out. Lets your opponent switch out their active one on their bench if you discard a water energy from it, and does 100 damage for 3 water energy and 20 to all of the bench on your opponent's side. Yeah, it was alright, but we have better techs now that kind of stop discarding. Things like Fion would be the best option because it does the same thing, just no discarding. It just puts Fion back into the deck. Stops you decking out, which is fine, and you can constantly do it. Volcanion is just a one-off. Fion you get up to 4, so yeah, Fion in my opinion would probably be better. So yeah, it was alright while it lasted. Glaceon GX, and to a lesser extent Leafeon GX, because we did have Sylveon, but Sylveon left in Sun and Moon, I believe. So unfortunately that's gone now. I think we also had Leafeon, but Leafeon isn't as good as Glaceon in my opinion. Glaceon locks down all GX and EX abilities in play, and then it does a nice little 90 damage and 30 to the bench. So yeah, it was alright. It was alright looking off, but now we're looking at things like V and V Max Pokemon, and Glaceon doesn't stop them. So it's just there's ways to go around Glaceon. Power Plant as well would stop it. So you could have a Pokemon V ran deck with Power Plant, and Glaceon is just pretty much useless. And then also Steel type, which means Zacian one shot kills it. It did even without weakness. So Glaceon it was alright while it lasted. It was a nice little water tech, but what can you do? Quagsire from Dragon Majesty. This card was pretty much the definitive point in water decks that tried giving water Pokemon that little boost. Again with Nagging Adel, these two would be amazing together because you would just get energy back from the discard and Quagsire would slap it back up. You have better ways to tag team Quagsire now. Main one would be Frostmoth, because Frostmoth puts as much water energy as you can onto your water Pokemon, and since Frostmoth and Quagsire are both water Pokemon, you've got guaranteed water energy on the bench, and then Quagsire brings all of that water energy from the bench up into the active. So yeah, you could do a lot of you do a lot more damage with Quagsire if you tag team it with Frostmoth, which is great. But yeah, Quagsire again is a massive water card, and it's going to be such a shame that it goes. So the ways of getting water types onto the active is going to be a bit harder. You might have to work around with switches and Frostmoth a lot more, but yeah, it's going to be a bit tricky. Greninja GX from Forbidden Light is also going to go. Basically buffed up Obstagoon pretty much. When you evolve it, put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Shout out to Frogadier, that lets you put down 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon when you evolve it. Haze Slash for 110, shuffles it back into the deck so you can always do their attack again and again and again. And then does 130 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon as a GX attack. It's alright. Then you've got new cards now like Misty and Lorelli, where if you discard 5 cards, you can do it again. You can just keep sniping at the bench if you really want to. If Greninja's got less HP and is about to get knocked out, you can do 110, bring it back in, bring in something like Lee's Pokédoll now. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's alright. But then again, it's kind of been replaced with Obstagoon, because Obstagoon shuts down basic Pokemon, and we're in a basic heavy format right now. So I'd probably say Obstagoon over Greninja. But if you don't mind going for a flurry like as fast as you possibly can, then Greninja. Just because you can use the ability over and over and over again, it's fine. If you don't want to be behind on prizes, then Obstagoon. But if you want to do as much damage as you can as quickly as possible, then Greninja. Right, so now we're on the trainer cards. Again, these are just a couple. I don't think I have all of them. If you guys remember any cards that I haven't put in this video, let me know. We'll talk about it. It's gonna be crazy. But yeah, so first off, Acrobike. You could put this in with Giratina decks, because if you discard energy, Malamar works with it. If you discard Giratina just comes on the bench anyway. So yeah, it was alright. Acrobike's pretty good. It's nice to put in some decks, not all, but it's nice to put in some. Beast Ball, again, for Beast Box decks was great, because you could get any Ultra Beast from your prizes and replace Beast Ball with it. Yes, that was alright. A nice way to look at your prizes as well, just to see what you've missed. Beast Ring again was great is now great with things like Pheromosa Buzzwole, and then more recently Nagging Adel Guzzlord. because you would do things like Mismagius to get your prizes, to get your opponent's prizes down to 4, then just slap on Beast Rings. Being in mind, you could do 2 Mismagius in 1 turn. So by the time, so if you go second, you could attack, and if you get your cards right, you could literally do 180 with Nagging Adel, Nagging Adel Guzzlord as quickly as you can. That is amazing. That is really, really good. But yeah, so get as 2 energy that you want and attach it to one of your Ultra Beasts if your opponent has 3 or 4 prizes remaining. It was a great card. It's an amazing card. Amazing card. And also works well with Ultra Necrozma. Again, it's just a great card. It is a fantastic card in my opinion. Custom Catcher from Lost Thunder is also going. This has kind of been the main gusting effect. I think now we're getting Boss's Orders from Rebel Clash, so that's going to pretty much replace Custom Catcher. So it's lived its run. It has lived its run. By the time this was out, we didn't use it as well because we had Guzma that lets you swap out our active and their active for each other's benches. Then Guzma left and Custom Catcher's been the main one that we've been using. We've had other ones. We've got Pokemon Catcher back now, and we've got Great Catcher for GXs. But Custom Catcher, if you get 2 of them, it's more consistent. Pokemon Catcher relies on a coin flip. Me personally, I don't like coin flips that much. But then again, I'd rather risk it on a coin flip than wait until I get 2 Custom Catchers. But then again, if you get 1, you can get draw mechanics. So it's give and take. It's give and take. You never know. It's not. It's all right for now. But when Boss's Orders comes out, I'm pretty sure Custom Catcher is going to more or less disappear. I'm pretty sure of that. Electro Power, again, something really, really massive for electric decks to take. This was great. Does 30 damage extra for your electric Pokemon's attacks. It was great. It's such a great card to put in electric decks, and it's such a shame that it's going. It's a really big shame. I think Electro Charger is in Team Up, so in the next set. So, but that's somehow staying. I feel like they should have both been in the same set, because that's a bit annoying, because you've just got Electro Chargers just sitting there in your collection now. So yeah, so unfortunately Electro Power is going. It is sad. So again, Electric Pokemon are going to take a fat L, because we're losing Zeraora and Electro Power now. So oh gosh, can't wait to see how electric decks manage now. Energy Recycle System was pretty good. We've got Energy Rod, which in my opinion is better because it gets two Pokemon and 2 energy back into the deck. But I guess for Energy Recycle System, you get it back into your hand, or get it back into the deck, or get 3 back into the deck, should I say? Which is alright. It's a bit better. It depends on what deck you're using. Things like ADP would be better shuffling into the deck, because then you could just get it out from the deck. Things like Blastoise and Piplup would be better for things like Energy Retrieval, because it brings it back into your hand. It really depends on what you're using, but Energy Recycle System, I think, has outlived its. I think it's lived its run very nicely. In my opinion, I think it's lived it very nicely. Fiery Flint from Dragon Majesty. Oh boy, Blacephalon decks are going to take a fat L with this one. Discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for up to 4 fire energy cards, and put them into your hand. That was such an amazing. It's such an amazing card for fire decks. That is crazy good. Welder, love this. Then you have things like Giant Hearth, which also came out afterwards. Sure, it's a stadium card, so and you discard 1 card, but it gets you 2. So you do half the work, you get half the effort. So was alright. Fiery Flint, again, if you want a blitz of fire energy, more specifically for Blacephalon, baby Blacephalon. That was great, because that was, I think, 200 damage if you had all the energy already, and you just did Fiery Flint for extra damage. So that was great. That was amazing. Yeah, there's not much I can say about Fiery Flint. It's a good 1 or 2 off in fire decks. I can't complain. It's great. Lost Blender, again for Lost March, again it's sad. It is very, very sad. A lot of people take this in with Granbull decks, and I think Granbull is being rotated out as well. I think Granbull was from Lost Thunder as well. So I think Granbull is going as well. That was good for a while, actually. But yeah, so Lost Blender is good. Lost Blender was a decent card. It was good for Lost March. It was good for Granbull decks. But yeah, that's going now, unfortunately. Mysterious Treasure, a top tier card for Dragon or Psychic decks. Ultra Necrozma thrived on this deck. Things like ADP would have been good, because you can get ADP with this. You can get a lot of stuff with this actually, and since it's any dragon or psychic, it counts as evolutions. So any deck again that works with Malamar, Ultra Necrozma, ADP, it's such a nice card to have for those type of decks. It's really good. And then I think you'd tech this in with things like Mewtwo and Mew, because then you could discard a card that would fuel up Mewtwo and Mew. Mysterious Treasure is just great, in my opinion. It's great. It's really nice. It's just nice. I can't complain. It's great. Netball, a massive hit for grass types. Not that they didn't even need to take this hit. So it lets you get any basic grass type Pokemon or any grass energy card and put it into your hand. It was good to get energy search for grass types. It was good to get grass types in general. You use this a lot for things like Tropic Tantrum, the Rillaboom, Rowlet, Loli Executor deck. Yeah, just grass decks in general just thrived on this card. Sure, you have things like Quick Ball now. It's just Netball seemed a bit nicer because you had the choice of getting grass Pokemon or grass energy. It was just nicer. It was nice to have for grass decks. Sure, you have things like Quick Ball and Energy Search, but then that's two cards that can do just what this one does. So it is a bit of a L to take, in my opinion. It's a tiny bit. It's a tiny bit to take. Heat Factory from Lost Thunder. Oh my gosh. Oh, Fire Dex, I'm so sorry. This was pretty much the main draw mechanic now that was in Fire Dex. You have ways of replacing this. By the way, if you discard a Fire Energy, you draw 3 cards. But yeah, just, oh, Fire Dex, I am so sorry. This is like the main draw mechanic now for the Fire Dex. You have ways to get around this. I think Salazzle was still in here. I think Salazzle's going too. Oh my gosh, I think Salazzle's going as well, which is basically a Pokemon that does Heat Factory. You have Welder that lets you attach and draw 3 cards. That's pretty much going to be your best bet for draw mechanic in Fire Dex. But then again, that's supporter cards, because that way you could have done Welder, Heat Factory, and Salazzle. That would have been 9 cards you could have drawn in one turn. But I think 2 out of 3 of them are going. I think Salazzle's going. It was Salazzle from Team Up. I think Salazzle's from Team Up, so we might be safe. So you might have Salazzle. I'll have to check again. But, oh gosh, Heat Factory. I am so sorry. Sorry, Fire Dex. But then again, I still think Fire Dex are going to be at the peak of meta, even after this is gone. I don't think it will affect it that much. Shrine of Punishment, again, seems fitting because most of the GXs are gone now. We're looking at a tag team era onwards. But yeah, you still see a few GXs, but I think after the next rotation, it makes sense why Shrine of Punishment is gone. But until then, tag teams are going to thrive. Tag teams are really going to thrive. There's nothing more else I could say. It puts 1 damage counter between every GX or EX between turns. But yeah, tag team Pokemon are going to thrive now because they can literally go up there without thinking, oh my gosh, what if they have Shrine of Punishment? Because they won't. It will be rotated. So yeah, it's going to be a hard time for tag team Pokemon to get knocked out. You're going to have to find a Pokemon that can do a tanky amount of attack in a short amount of time. Thunder Mountain. Electric types, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for your loss. This is going to be, again, I think this is going to make electric type decks shoot down in meta very quickly. I think Fire decks have like rocketed up to the top. Before it'd be like an argument between lightning and fire, but I think after this rotation, Fire decks are going to be at the very top because we're still going to have Welder until like next year. So attacks of lightning Pokemon, both yours and opponents, are 1 lightning less. This would mean Pikarom does full blitz. Pikarom does full blitz for 150 for 2 energy instead of 3, which makes it easier because things like Tapu Koko and Thunder Mountain could have done this in a turn 1 aspect if you was really lucky. There's a lot of things. You could do Zero Aura's GX attack for free. You could have done Zapdos's attack for free. There's just a lot. There is a lot of things that you could have done, that you can do with Thunder Mountain, and that's going to rotate. And that's going to be very sad. That is going to be super sad. They need to bring out cards like this again, because this was great for lightning decks, and I'm so sad that this is going to go. Pikarom is going to shoot down in play because Thunder Mountain was so essential for this deck in the early game. Just to quickly get it up, Pikarom does the damage, and then by that point, you've got enough energy with Pikarom to do whatever you want with. You could either do full blitz if you still have Thunder Mountain, or you could just keep hitting him again. Pikarom just worked great with Thunder Mountain, in my opinion, and it is a really big shame. It's such a shame. Cynthia from Ultra Prism, our main draw mechanic for the longest time. For the longest time, now Cynthia is going. Cynthia's definitely got the best out of her run, in my opinion. We do have other draw mechanics now. We've got things like, well, Tate and Liza's also going. We have things like Professor's Research now. We've got draw mechanics as cards like Chinchino and Zacian. We've got other ways to get cards, but Cynthia, I think, was like the staple of this was the best draw mechanic that we've had for a while, for a very, very long time. And I think Professor's Research is going to overtake that by the time Cynthia rotates out. But I think there's going to be other ways to go around it. I generally think there's going to be other ways. Diantha, again, for fairy decks. I'm not too fussed about this, but for fairy decks, this would be a massive L, because if your fairy Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's turn, you get any 2 cards from discard pile that you want to. This would have been great for things like Gardevoir if it was still here. It's still great for things like Gardevoir Sylveon. But yeah, Gardevoir Sylveon is going to take a massive hit with this, in my opinion. Just because it's nice to get in cards back from the discard pile. If you haven't got the cards that you need, or if you need an extra Pokemon, Diantha just works very, very well. If you know you can tank a hit, you get a support card back. I think you can get another Diantha back. You could just keep recycling Diantha. So yeah, you could, but Diantha was alright, but it was fairy specific, and now fairy cards are being discontinued. It's a bit weird. It is a bit weird. Lance Prism Star was amazing for Dragon decks. Lets you get any 2 Dragon type Pokemon if your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Doesn't have to be basic, can be evolutions. So this used to work well with things like Dragonite, especially the new one from, I think, Unified Minds again, because Dragonite GX would just go up to the bench and you could just go off. You could just go completely off that way. Yeah, Dragonite was pretty much the main card for this. You can have other ones, but most of the Dragon type cards that we use now are basic, so it didn't really matter that much. But not many people are using Dragonite anymore, so Lance kind of saw less play. But if you're using Evolution Dragon type Pokemon, I would highly consider Lance just until it runs out. But it was alright for a while. Lily was good. Lily was like the secondary draw mechanic after Cynthia. But ever since the new turn 1 rule where you couldn't play a support card on your first turn, Lily declined heavy. Lily declined in draw heavy. You still kind of see her, she's decent still. Draw until you have 6 cards in your hand, but if it's your first turn, draw until you have 8. It was good for a turn 1. It was really good for a turn 1, but unfortunately we don't have that rule anymore, so Lily kind of just goes off. You can still use her, because if you go second and it's your first turn, you could get lucky and get Lily. But many people use it just because if they get turn 1 and get Lily, it's just more easier for them. So you don't really see Lily that much. It's just there just to kind of get the memories of Lily used to be great. Lily used to be amazing. Professor Elm's Lecture. Not many people use this except if you're using things like Pidgeot, because then you get 2 Pidgeys and the Pidgeotto. Sorry, I said Pidgeot. Pidgeotto, I mean, because Pidgeotto had 60 HP and also let you draw. It was a form of draw, so that was nice. It also lets you get basic Pokemon pretty much. Things like Ditto Prism Star, just things that would evolve into other Pokemon very easily. But nowadays you're seeing more Pokemon that have like kind of 70 HP. 61s, it's like there's ways to get around it now. There are easy ways to kind of pick it off. It's very weird. So Professor Elm's Lecture is still as good, don't get me wrong, but it's just there's different, the game's kind of changing where Professor Elm's Lecture is getting used less and less. But unfortunately, he's getting rotated out, which is a shame. It is a crying shame. Tate and Liza, like I said, came out in Celestial Storm. Lets you one of 2 choices: either shuffle your deck and draw 5 cards, or just pop a switch. It was nice because it gave you more variety. If you knew you had cards to spare, you'd switch. If you knew you was going to be in a pinch, then you'd just shuffle and draw 5. It was decent. It was a decent card. It was a nice form of draw. I think it was like the 3rd place draw behind Lily, I think. But yeah, it was nice. It was decent. I like Tate and Liza. Tate and Liza's cool. Volkner, again, Lightning decks. I'm so sorry. Oh, Lightning decks, what happened to you, man? Lightning, I'm so sorry. So you search your deck for an item card and a Lightning Energy card, and you put them into your hand. Again, Lightning decks would thrive for this. You could get things like a Lightning Energy and Electro Power, and you could be finished. You could just end a Pokemon like that. You can get things like Evo Incense if you really wanted to. You get things like Rare Candy if you're doing the stage 2 deck, like Magnezone. Just Volcanium, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're leaving. Lightning decks, what's gonna happen to you, man? I can't wait to see what happens to Lightning decks now. That's gonna be so painful. Counter gain was decent. If you're behind on prizes, attacks of the Pokemon that this card is attached to is one colorless less. Being in mind it's colorless, not any type. It's not just one energy less, it's one colorless less. So if you have a Pokemon that say, oh, I don't know, what Pokemon needs like 3 of the same energy? I'm just trying to think. I can't remember. Okay, let's say, for example, there's just a Pokemon that needs 3 water energy to work. Let's say that. If you put Counter Gain, doesn't do anything. It does not do a single thing. Counter Gain would not do anything because it's not colorless. It needs 3 water. So Counter Gain was alright if you had cards that would need that. It was kind of like a 1-off or 2-off, unless you really want to abuse Counter Gain. By all means, you can. But there's other better ways to abuse lack of prizes. So it was good. It was nice for a while, but Counter Gain, it can be used. It's just not as used as other cards, ideally. A skateboard. So Jirachi, I'm sorry, dude, but Jirachi is going to be seen less and less now. A skateboard basically lets you retreat for 1 colorless less, and also lets you retreat if you're asleep or paralyzed, which is great because basically you get to retreat and still keep on par with your opponent. So if your opponent sets you to sleep with Slumbering Forest, you can still escape. If your opponent paralyzes you with things like, say for example, Choo Choo, you can still retreat. It's just that many people would mostly use this with Jirachi, because Jirachi would get you an item card, or a trainer card, I mean, put it into your hand and it will go to sleep. But Skateboard pretty much lets you get free retreat anyway. So it was a nice tech with Jirachi, but since the Skateboard is going, Jirachi is going to be seen less, in my opinion, because unless they bring out a card like this, or many people like to abuse Switch or anything like that, or there's a new Switch tech or anything like that, Jirachi is going to be seen less. Jirachi is going to be seen way less. That's going to be crazy. You're going to see Jirachi getting played in almost every deck to pretty much almost none. That's insane. Metal Frying Pan, again, was lovely for Steel type decks. It was pretty much the main tool card for Steel type decks. Reduces damage by 30 and gives them no weakness, which was great because things like Welder was running around and all metal decks were weak to fire, so Welder pretty much dominated Steel type decks. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how metal decks are going to go around that. You do still have weakness energy. I don't know how else they're going to really get around with this though. I really don't know. There could be ways, but if that's the case, then things like Glaceon's going to be seen a lot less. Maybe a 1-off if anything. But yeah, that metal decks, things like Lucario, Melmetal is going to be seen a lot less. A lot less. Right, now we're on to the energies. I don't think there's much energy that's getting rotated. This is only a couple. So first off, Super Boost Energy was good for a while. I think, what was that deck before? It was like Meganium, Greninja, Slacking, and one more. Nidoqueen, that was the one. Yeah, it gives you more energy for more stage 2s you have in play, which was good because if you have, say, like 3 or 4 stage 2s, you can pretty much do any attack for any stage 2 at all. You do anything. But that deck that I said before, what they would do is that they would have Greninja up front, use Super Boost Energy, attack with that 1 energy, and then retreat it all back because Greninja put Super Boost Energy back. So that was amazing. It was really good. But yeah, not many people use Super Boost Energy because you need a lot of stage 2s to pull it off. I think now so more than ever you can do it because you can do things like Inteleon, because Inteleon would get you a lot of trainer cards, and then you could do it with stage 2s because it's a lot nicer because you get Evo Incense and Rare Candy. Yeah, you could do it that way, I guess, but it's just a lot. It is a tricky card, I'm not gonna lie, it is a pretty tricky card. Beast Energy, again, Beast Box is pretty much becoming extinct. Beast Box is just becoming extinct at this point. Provides any Ultra Beast with any energy and does 30 more damage. I can't complain, that was great. You'd add it with things like Ultra Necrozma and you wouldn't even need Steel type energy, you just put on Beast Energy and just slap it on with Psychics. And then give you extra 30 on top of the extra Psychic energy that you put onto it. Things like Pheromosa Buzzwole, its GX attack will turn from 50 to 80, which then would give you more likely chance of getting extra prizes. Nagging Adel Guzzlord would do 210 instead of 180. Dude, it's just great. Beast Energy was amazing. Beast Energy was great. You'd put it on things like the Baby Buzzwole that would do 120 if your opponent has 4 prizes. That would turn 150. That would turn to 150. Great, amazing for Beast decks. It was essential for Beast decks, and unfortunately, Beast Box, dude, I'm sorry, but I think you're becoming extinct after this rotation. Memory Energy wasn't used a lot, in my opinion. You could, nah. I'm trying to think of ways you could use Memory Energy. You could be cheeky with it, I guess, but then again, there's just other ways. The first thing I thought of was Empoleon, but then Empoleon does it for one of any energy because it's colorless, and then does it for that just that one energy as long as you evolved it from the right Piplup and Primplup. For Memory Energy, you need the necessary energy to pull it off, so it makes no sense. Memory Energy was kind of like, oh, why? Like, why? I know people used to take it in with things like Luxio, because then if you evolve into Luxray, you could do Memory Energy and still attack for 30 and lock off their items. But then that became shut off very, very quickly. So Memory Energy, I don't know why, but I guess you were too advanced for the game as you were. There are probably going to be cards where we're like, damn, we need Memory Energy back now. Unit Energy, I think all 3 Unit Energies are here. But first off, fighting Darkness and Fairy, yeah, that sucks. I think this was one of the least Unit Energies. I think the main one was Fire, Water, and Grass, I think. But then again, if you had decks that would tech in things, you could tech in a lot of Fairy, a lot of fighting, and a lot of Dark type Pokemon with each other. You could tech in a lot of Pokemon with each other with this card. I think a lot of the Unit Energy, but yeah, same with Grass, Water, Fire, and I think all the Unit Energy are gonna disappear. All the Unit Energy are gone. It is a bit of a shame because it was a nice tech to put in. If you had cards that you knew you could use as a backup attacker, you could have done that really well. But yeah, unfortunately we are losing it, all of them really. But yeah, that's kind of it. So we are losing a lot of good cards, which is a shame. But yeah, if I've missed anything, please let me know in the comments, because I feel like I have missed a couple. But yeah, how do you guys feel about this new rotation anyway? Again, let me know. If you guys enjoyed the video, always click like and always click on the video, guys. Always welcome back, and I will see all of you in the next video. Right, guys, take care, and I will see you all later. Okay, bye.